Okay, we are live here at LRVS 2023, the Americas edition. So this is our second panel of the day, and I'm really thrilled to be able to announce these panelists. I think it probably takes a little bit for people to come into the stage, so I'm going to just pause to make sure people can file in. But this is an exciting topic. It's top of mind, not only in our industries, but I think across every industry. And you're seeing it in the copywriting world. Of course, ChatGPT is the big name, and now Bing is integrating that. And you have many other companies, having APIs with OpenAI. And one of the things that is really interesting is how we can harness that power for good in what we're doing here. And Greg saying this is Dream Team. So yeah, so I just wanted to pause to make sure people can get in as they're coming in. I'm going to introduce the team now. So we have Ryan Chan, who's the CEO and founder of UpKeep. Blair Fraser, who's the vice president of UAE Systems. And Ryan and Blair had their talks earlier today, and they were amazing. I had the privilege of moderating Blair's. So this is so topical. This is so right up his alley. And Ryan had just talked about, the state of the market in our industry, and AI was one of the top talking points. So I can't wait to hear from him. Howard Penrose, the president of MotorDocs, had just some experiences today, he was telling me before. So looking forward to hearing that. And Alexandra Gunderson, who's the service offerings lead with Cognite. I hope I'm saying that right. Who's an AI expert. So we're thrilled to have her aboard. And so we're talking today about what role can AI play in condition monitoring. So maybe Alexandra, if you could go and just tell us a little bit about yourself, 30, 60 seconds, and your tie into AI.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. I'm Alexandra. I actually started off my career before AI, working as an engineer. I worked in the energy sector, so worked in oil and gas and the nuclear sector, before making the switch to the world of data science in about 2016. So I started off in developing predictive maintenance solutions, primarily anomaly detection for large-scale offshore oil and gas equipment, as primarily looking at compressors, heat exchangers, pumps. And then I took a short detour into entrepreneurial. So I led a small software team developing industrial solutions. And there we also leveraged AI. And now I'm just new to Cognite. I joined about a month ago. And there I'm working in designing and implementing solutions for our customers.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for that. And Ryan?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of UpKeep. We build software for maintenance, reliability, operations teams. A little bit about me. I went to Cal Berkeley, chemical engineer, worked in a manufacturing plant, spun out from DuPont Chemicals, manufactured reverse osmosis membranes for brackish water desalination, and a little bit of wastewater. So our company, what we do is we build software for the technicians. We make it super easy to use. We also sell sensors that hook into physical equipment. We also hook into PLCs and SCADA systems to pull all this data, and have done a lot with helping write some predictive maintenance anomaly detection as well. That's me.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. And Blair?
Hi, everybody. My name is Blair Fraser. I'm the VP on the technology side at UAE Systems. My background goes back longer than I want to admit, but I started off as an end user in the oil and gas and then pharma space. And then I worked for a large Fortune 500 company in the technology space. and then also did a entrepreneurial little jaunt in just founding a company called Cortic.ai that specializes in industrial AI, and particularly in pharma now is where we're heading. And then at UE Systems, we truly believe that everyone has the right to a safe, reliable, and efficient facility. So we make equipment using ultrasound that's versatile and easy to use.
Thanks, Blair. And Howard?
Howard Penrose, president of MotorDoc LLC. For those who don't know me, I do electric machines and related systems, from energy with wind turbines and solar to wastewater, or like the past few weeks ago, mines, so salt mines. I'm an industrial engineer. Everybody thinks I'm electrical for some reason, and industrial engineering is kind of the area where things like data science and machine learning has always resided. So my first foray into this area was at Argonne National Labs in the late 1980s, and then at a consulting firm doing what we now call digital twins for Nestle. And then when I was at the University of Illinois, doing energy systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And more recently, projects along the lines of taking raw data in and projecting remaining life, or actually time to failure estimation. Rule is kind of a mean time to failure, not really a estimate, that kind of thing. So quite a bit. And a lot of experiences, and probably more the person who warns people about what they're looking at.
Gotcha. Thanks for that, Howard.
A lot of fun experiences.
Yeah. So we sort of want to set the stage in terms of where we are today in AI. And Ryan, just because I saw your presentation earlier and you had just pretty much pulled the industry on this. Do you want to give us some insight on what you learned in terms of in its role with condition monitoring?
I was actually gonna kind of suggest that too. In terms of like state of the union, where we are with AI. So a little bit about the project that I ran for those of you that weren't part of my session. I wound up speaking to 100 people in our industry. We did hour-long calls, so it was essentially 100 hours over a 2-month period where I was just polling our entire industry. We talked about AI as one of the most common topics because I was personally really interested. Where is our community at with AI? Are you excited about it? Are you afraid that it's going to take your job? Where's your company, thinking about implementing AI? Have they done so already? I want to share some of the stats that I found and we found by surveying over 100 people in this industry. I asked the one question. The first question is, are you supportive of AI in maintenance operations? What's going on at your plant? 86% of companies said, I'm super supportive of AI and the implementation of AI in maintenance. Next question I asked, are you ready? Is your company ready to implement AI? 71% of companies said, hell no, not even close, not close to ready. We're like super excited about it. Don't know what it means. Our company is very far behind. Next question. I said, have you used anything personally? They said, actually, yes. 60% of people actually have used some sort of AI technology. I think the most common one across the board was ChatGPT. And we asked the community, hey, what are you using ChatGPT for, on a personal basis? They actually said very interesting, simple use cases. Writing PM schedules. Very interesting. So I would say the state of the union in terms of AI in our community, very excited. Company's not ready. Personally, they've been using it, dabbling in it, but transparently, I think we're still very far behind, at least at a company level. I don't think people, at least in our space, are afraid that AI is going to come take their job. Instead, I think a lot of people in our space are very supportive of AI because they know how important it can be to improving their skills on the job.
No, thanks for that. And those stats are pretty amazing. Alexandra, what are your thoughts on that? And what's your experience in terms of what you've seen?
I loved those numbers, right? I noted it down that I needed to reach out to you to get access to that survey. I think that resonates, I mean, a lot with the experience that I have as well, that there's a lot of excitement about it. And especially like at the sort of business level as well, that everybody sees what's happening with ChatGPT and they're like, we've got to get it into the business. We have to be using it. But there is a gap, right, between actually using these tools, and especially for really important and critical operations that's being done at the sort of maintenance level and condition monitoring. So I'm really excited about all of the available, tools and algorithms and software solutions that are out there today. But I think that it's almost like we've repackaged what has been, like you said it, Howard, earlier, right? What has always been there in terms of analytics and calculating mean time to failure and things like this. And we've sort of put this new stamp on it. We call it AI, and then it gets like a renaissance. And I think that a lot of what we do is actually just cloudifying and putting like algorithms and smart models into the cloud, right? So that they're available and accessible to everybody in the organization. And I think that's exciting. That's a difficult job to do. That's.
You're saying it's not AI.
Well, I mean, some of it is, but I mean, in order to do this, like this large scale, like ChatGPT type of AI, which I think is what a lot of people automatically call AI, you need to have like data models. You need to have a really strong data foundation. In order to have that, you need to have the connection to your PLC, to your SCADA systems, and those are all like, I mean, there's a lot of bricks along the journey in order to get this data foundation layer so that you can do the really exciting AI. There's still a lot of work, I think, to be done around labeling and augmenting data. And this is sort of the like hidden work of AI. And I think that there is some education required in the way that we sell and position AI. I think that there's also sometimes dangers about overselling some solutions with AI, that sometimes there's a misconception about what it can do. We see these things like ChatGPT and we hear about Google and Tesla and self-driving cars, and then we automatically think that the algorithms that we're putting in place to detect failures are going to be as good. And we just don't have the number of failures or the like data pool in order to build algorithms that are extremely reliable. So you have to be able to have a sort of education when you're implementing these solutions so that people know how to use it. And I think that it's more of a change management process and an understanding about what's happening underneath the hood is important.
Okay. And Howard, you've been nodding your head through a lot of that. What were your thoughts?
We're right on. We're right on together. My view is don't trust and verify. A majority of the time, I mean, my biggest experience with data and making sure data was clean, it was at National Institutes of Health, where we were bringing in 39 million data points per day. And I was just an offshoot. I was providing support for the folks that were actually involved. So that was incredible, because what we found was data was bad. It was horrible. And using bad data gives you bad results. The other big issue had to do with security. We just had the experience 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, when I was driving between sites and I stopped at a hotel overnight, and I get an alert at 3 a.m. that all the tires on my car were flat or missing, and get up the next morning and rush out there, and of course somebody had gone into OnStar and changed the pressure limit to 561 psi for vehicles for tire pressure. Whoa. So I wasn't the only one who got the alert, but it was a danger that I had identified at a NIST Cybersecurity 3.0 meeting in 2016. That it's opening you up to a few more things. The trust but verify, or not trust but verify, is having to understand the biases behind your systems, right? who developed it and how they set it up, because AI really is, it's not, well, we call it now AGI. AGI, we used to call AGI AI. Well, that's besides the point. When you go back, the bias depends on the programmer and the data that they use. That was a big issue with autonomous vehicles. And autonomous vehicles, we took some out for a test to verify. And it was the scariest situation I'd been in which the vehicle we were in flashed a warning up that was barely noticeable and just turned off the steering. Things like that. And that was one of the well-known ones, and the reason they now call it a beta. When we start taking a look at our systems, we have to, at this point in time, one, make sure our data is good, and then make sure that we're utilizing that machine learning or AI system as more of a guide or alert that we have to verify, not necessarily start altering how we operate our systems. I can even go back to 2003 with the big Northeastern blackout, which started out as a software glitch on an alert system that was supposed to be a machine learning system that neglected to identify a change in one of the lines and allowed a second line to fail. But that was an after effect due to a maintenance issue. But I've got a few stories about that, because my job is to watch out for that stuff and go fix it when it happens.
Thanks for that, Howard. And
Yep.
and Blair, I mean, your thoughts on this, and then I'm hoping you could sort of tie us in also to AI specifically in condition monitoring, because I think that's something you guys are deep into now.
Yeah. For the sake of the panel, I wanted to disagree with everybody, but I can't. I think everyone's spot on. And Alexandra, you could tell that you sat in the data science seat, and the same with you, Howard, the way you articulated that and shared the frustrations. So you've gotten your hands dirty on as soon as you mentioned data labeling and stuff like that, you even get to algorithms, right? So I think they're spot on with that. And to Ryan's study he was done, that was great to see that there's not hesitation around AI. I think we're all struggling with where to put it, which I think is fine. And if you've been in this industry long enough, and my background was in industrial automation, so like I've seen the industry unfortunately move back to 3 to 15 psi, if I remembers that, to analog, and just seeing that, like, again, people didn't trust it, right? And so there is, to Alexandra's point, there is a big change management piece too. And I think we could probably do better as a community about we talk about AI, which is the governing bucket of you throw everything in, but there is machine learning, there's generative AI and things like that, right? So I don't think we're the same with condition monitoring. It means a lot of things to different people too, right? So I think that's probably something we could do better in industry, of really narrowing down what we're trying to do, and the subset of image recognition, machine learning, and things like that. But and I've seen it, just like Alexander and Howard said too. I've seen AI fail more than I've seen it succeed, is the reality of it. And I've seen companies, and I don't know if this came up in your study, Ryan, but if you look at the Gartner hype cycle, right, we're going over that peak of inflation, particularly with machine learning. We're going to get to the trough of disillusion, I think, where everything sucks. And then we should come out of it eventually and say, okay, it does have some use cases, right? And that's just a natural progression we're going to go through. But it was interesting. If I look back to my early career in AI, was mining seemed to have really gravitated towards it early on, early adopters, autonomous trucks and things like that. And there was one company in particular that put, it had to be 100+ data scientists in a room to solve a problem. And other than spending money and helping the economy move forward, they literally got nowhere. And I don't want to mention names here, but it was publicly known, like, this had to be 10 years ago when GE formed Predix. And if everyone remembers that, they came out with an announcement when they folded it. And I see Ryan saying, and it resonated with me, and it's still to this day, as it was IoT at the time, but it's everything to do with AI. Was this IoT or digital industry 4.0 isn't scalable, right? Then they came out with that headline. Everyone's like, whoa, right? And so when you look at that, I think where we can do better, and it's the same with generative AI. With anyone that answered Ryan's survey, are currently using AI, and they said no, they just don't know it. like your recommendations on Netflix, and yeah, it's just everywhere. You can't get around it. But what I truly believe we need to do, and as we get to condition monitoring, is we need to get better at asking questions. And the reason I say that is just like with GPT, if anyone's using it, is there's literally career paths now of prompt engineers, right? Of people coming up with good prompts for it, which, you go back to, would that have existed 5 years ago? I said, what the heck is that? Right. But about asking better questions up front about what problem we're trying to solve and what outcome we're looking for. We get better at that, to Alexandra's point and Howard's, like, you can start off with anomaly detection, but what do you want to, and more importantly is, I've seen a lot of studies, well, we were able to detect this anomaly with 89% accuracy. But what we don't know is what else did you predict that actually wasn't true behind the scenes, right? And that's the part that concerns me, that we're looking at just that one output, not then. I can see Alexandra and I are going, yeah, because that's what's really kind of bit me in the butt. And when it comes to condition monitoring too, I think, in particular, I do feel machine learning is going to have a big impact, and generative AI and Chat GPT for building PMs and stuff. And I remember when Chat GPT came out in our community, people went out there and said, look how bad this is. It can't give me an FMA on a pump, because you literally told it build me an FAM on a pump. You didn't tell it where it was located. If it was in Canada, it's different FMEA than if it was in the desert, right? So you gave it no context, so it's going to give you a generic answer, right? If you using Chat GPT and you're not 5 questions deep, you're not using it right. And the same is going to be with us on condition monitoring. And I think in particular, machine learning, outlier detection, anomaly detection, those type of things are really going to come to fruition in the short term to help what Howard said, to guide us. The end goal, in my opinion, AI does have to be closed loop AI. And I've seen that in my career in automation, model predictive control, if everyone remembers that. Right. And it never worked. It never works. I set 100 of those things up and they never work too. But I think the technology is getting better. So eventually that's got to be the goal, but we're a long way from truly closed loop AI.
This is a pretty epic discussion. I think we can probably have a whole conference just on AI, right? And so I don't know why we're packing this into 30 minutes. And we sort of went through, where we stand today, right? As Ryan said, the state of the union of the industry, and your insights were amazing. So just chucking this out there in terms of what future trends do you think we're going to see, right? So we sort of discussed where we are today. Where do you think it's going to be in 10 years? And
if I may, I'm just jumping in because I only have a couple more minutes, right? But the main thing I see, we heavily use machine learning and AI. That means that when people ask me, "Do you sleep?" Actually, I sit down and I've been performing prompt related stuff and everything else for ages, right? So ages, what? January, November, December of last year, but that's besides the point. Apparently that makes you an expert. But we utilize it to cut down on our times in data science, evaluating data, looking at large data sets. But we'll go in and we'll use autopilot, Copilot, Chat GPT, MATLAB, and whether we're using Python, R, C, C#, things like that. We're going in and we're taking a look at data. But once we get that information going, we have to go back and just verify that what we were given by the AI was correct. So for instance, I sat down once for fun and I wrote up a program because somebody said, "Oh, you can't write a good program with Chat GPT." So I did. What would have taken me about 5 or 6 days of sitting in front of a computer took me 4 hours. And that means that I created a program in 5 minutes based upon the prompts, went back, modified it because I checked out the data to make sure it was going to do what I wanted to do, meaning I had to know the code. And then we went in and started running into errors using the data sets, made our modifications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In another project, we're doing energy studies in plants. We're getting all of this data in. And instead of sitting there and perhaps missing data, because I'm not a young man anymore, and those letters that print's awful small. We'll run it through, Python code, for instance, in order to gather all the data together and get the information together and then go back and see if it makes sense. What we found is when we're using AI, or even an anomaly detection in our systems, we upload it to AWS, and AWS's anomaly says you've got this issue, something changed, then we have to go in and do the rest of it. It actually turns out we had to have more expertise, not less, in the particular subjects we were looking at, so that we could understand if what we were being given is correct. But once we verified that, in the end, we're not sitting there spending 6 days typing something out. Instead, we're spending a half a day. I've got a bunch of a bunch of examples, but basically it cuts down and makes us more effective.
Right. So that's your case use.
Yeah.
Don't trust, verify. Once you verified, even bring in, external expertise to manage that. Then it's a massive labor-saving technology, essentially, right?
And expect false positives and false negatives. Yeah. They're going to happen.
And Howard, I know you've got your session's coming up in 4 minutes, so that means we have 4 minutes with our team here.
I just got that all out. I'm about to drop off. So
yeah, thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, Alexandra, do you want to talk about either on that or what are your thoughts in 90 seconds on where you see this happening?
So I agree with Howard's point that we'll see AI continue to drive efficiency. I think that we see it in the way that we code and the way that we develop solutions. There's so many incredible tools out there that you can that use AI to make us more effective. So absolutely agree with that. I think that we'll also see a sort of growth in this symbolic AI versus the statistical generative AI type approaches. Symbolic AI being where it really takes into account, mathematical engineering principles. I think that that's incredibly important for the world of engineering equipment. I don't really see the point. I should really be careful, but I think that it's why build an algorithm on so many data points when we already have decades of learnings and theorems and principles that we can just apply in a couple of lines of code. It's much more effective, and it also is a little bit more reliable. You're not relying on the AI to sort of infer or learn. So I think I feel very strongly about hybrid AI and leveraging the knowledge that we already have existing. And I think the third thing that we have to do in order to succeed with implementing AI solutions is really encourage critical thinking. It's difficult to be critical to whatever is coming out of the algorithm if you don't have the underlying knowledge. So I think that it is very important that we don't lose that sort of traditional learning that we have, and can be critical to what's coming out. Yeah.
Thanks. I want to make sure these guys get another chance, but the 3 points there are key. Ryan, last words, 60 seconds.
60 seconds. All right. I think we're going to get pretty close to general AI. I think we're pretty far from it, though.
Okay.
So we're going to get 99%, and then the last 1% is going to be very, very difficult. I think the base layer LLMs are going to be dominated by a few key players. That's going to be Google, whatever, OpenAI, Microsoft, whatever. It's going to be very hard to build and compete with them on the base layer. I think the reason for that is because we've all realized that data is the most important critical piece. But there's this gap, I believe, in the data that we can gather that Google, Microsoft, whoever, OpenAI can gather. And the difference really comes from what I call the digital world and the physical world. The physical world is where we operate. And there's a big gap in the data that we collect that Google has and what's actually happening in the physical world. So I think, we can use AI in this digital world to help write PMs, analyze large data sets for vibration, temp, current, power, speed, whatnot, do anomaly detection. But there is this gap. It's this haptic feedback. in the physical world, your eyes, ears, touch. It's what a human sees and feels. And I think that's the biggest gap that we have that's going to cause this, you know, this 1% to take a very, very long time until we actually get to general AI. And I also think that's why our industry community isn't afraid.
I'm sorry, Ryan. I wanted Blair to get 30 seconds in. I apologize. And I know we're a little bit over, but
I echo what everyone said. I say my recommendation, if you're going to do a project, and you should, don't be afraid of it. Fail fast, risk small, and just move forward. It's coming your way.
Yeah. Awesome. This was an epic panel, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your insights, and looking forward to more contributions. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.